Alexa, play CNN.
CNN from TuneIn.
Rosa, thanks a lot. The president is digging in. Sources tell CNN the president's aware that his handling of the pandemic is hurting his standing in the polls, but he seems unwilling to change course. We'll talk about that elsewhere. States reopening plans amid a surge of coronavirus cases there. The mayor of Tucson is with us about her growing concerns.
And as this pandemic grows, the healthcare coverage of millions of Americans hangs in the balance this morning as the Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court to strike down the Affordable Care Act.
The West Hills Autoplex introduces a new way of quick, convenient car buying with Click and Drive. Buy your new vehicle anywhere with same-day credit approval all online. Select your new vehicle, get an instant trade value for your old vehicle, and just choose your terms all from the convenience of your mobile device.
Hi, Mary Jo. Hi, Mary Jo.
Yes, get it here. Buy your next vehicle with Click and Drive. Now,
Alexa, stop.
convenient car.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, you were muted.
Oh, okay. How are you doing?
Oh, I just rolled out of bed, so I'm froggy. How are you? I've been thinking about you lately.
I know. I'm doing pretty good. I just need to let you know that we have somebody who's stopping by to pick up some asthma medication that's not available right now, and Connor has.
Okay.
You know, mom's already at work, so I'm if I'm not on here for some reason, I'm just running the medicine down.
Okay. Now, and my understanding is that I just needed to get this started, but I didn't need to hang out. Is that what you understood?
Yeah, that's my understanding too.
Okay.
Okay, hold on just a second.
Sure, no problem.
Oh, sorry, I forgot Teresa was doing this. I hope I didn't wake you up. Okay, that's right. Okay, no, we're good. I'm talking to her, so we're good. Bye. Yeah, I had called Kathy because that's my instant panic button.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, she, I think she hangs out just a little bit. But this one, I don't think it's important because it's interactive. So we just take questions from them.
Oh, is that right? Okay, so there's no PowerPoint or anything.
Mona does it. You might have to help Mona get set up.
Yeah, she'll just need to share her screen. So
right,
I bet she can do it.
And then just let us know you'll be off. Just let everybody know, hey, you guys, we've got it, and we can run it from there, Teresa.
Terrific.
How's your family doing? Is everybody healthy and happy?
Everybody's good. We are celebrating Blakey's birthday this weekend. So
exciting.
Yes. So that means they'll be over this afternoon, which is lovely. And then I'm taking next week off, which is even lovelier.
Good for you.
Desperate for it. I'm desperate for it, I tell ya.
Yeah.
So how's the new baby? Where are you at?
He's doing really good. I actually got to hold him last week for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
Really good. He's already had 2 very minor surgeries. One, he had to have his tongue and his lip clipped, and then the hard thing was they just had to stretch it because he was having trouble nursing.
Did he have the same thing that Charlie has?
No, Charlie's is a lot worse. They haven't been able to fix Charlie's yet.
Oh,
and
so
his circumcision grew back.
what?
So he had to, oh, that one was awful because I saw the kids after. They showed the doctor on a Zoom meeting what was going on, and he said, get down here right away.
Oh my God.
To hold him while he operated on him. And it was click,
Oh,
cut. But I went over and took him dinner that night, and Joey was so shaken up. I've never seen my son like that.
yes, that's
And I guess
horrible.
he bled all over, and now he's fine. No, he's fine.
Good. But poor little thing.
I know. And
Oh
Charlie's a
man,
handful.
that's awful.
Yeah.
Um, so they haven't told anybody yet, but I think I told you that Melissa and Blake are expecting in
Yes.
January. Yes.
Exciting. How's she doing?
She's actually having more morning sickness and stuff this time around.
Oh, really?
Mm, and having migraines. So, but she's fine, really. And she goes back to work sometime in July, but from home. And
Okay.
she was concerned about the COVID too, but she met with her doctor for the first time this week, and the doctor said, it's not so bad, so dangerous for babies in utero, but it can be very bad for newborns. So is that why you guys all had to like keep your distance for weeks?
Oh, yeah. And they did this with my sister's first grandbaby. She didn't even get to see that grandbaby for the first month.
Oh my God.
I know. And now, like when I hold Owen, I have a clean blanket on top of me, even if I come in clean clothes and I don't touch his hands or his face.
Oh my gosh.
But I can play with his toes.
Oh my gosh. Are you allowed to kiss his little head?
No.
Oh, torture.
Hi, Terry. Yeah.
Maybe it'll be better by January. Maybe we'll have a vaccine. I hope so.
Well, he'll be walking probably by then, with my luck.
I know. I was thinking selfishly of of my own
Yes.
own
I
needs.
hope so. For yours, so you can cuddle him at least.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I bet he's real cute.
It's so funny because they were so quiet with their first one. Everybody had to be quiet.
All right.
When she was sleeping, and with this one, Charlie just shrieks and yells right beside him and sleeps through it.
Yeah, second baby parenting is different than
Yeah.
first baby parenting.
Thank goodness.
Yes. How's it going, Terry? Oh, you're muted. Unmute. Okay, there we are.
There we are. I haven't heard or seen from you in months.
Yeah, I've been here, trust me.
How many days a week are you in the office?
None.
None.
No, I'm working full-time at home, and it has been brutal.
Really? Because of the connectivity or the distractions?
Because of the amount of work that has to be done.
Oh, Teresa.
More than in the office?
Oh God, yeah. Everything with this COVID has been really, really well, and we're administering grants, so
Yes.
it's been brutal. I'm exhausted. I'm burned out. I'm taking a vacation next week. We are getting close to finishing. Well, not finishing, but getting into a good place with the state grant for the Working Washington Small Business Emergency Grants. But then in July, we start administering one that's 3 times as large for the county for the federal CARES money. So it's just like, I usually, first quarter of the year is always like horrible for me and for Kathy. John goes on vacation for 3 weeks, so he doesn't give a rat's ass. But then in April, it's usually like, I can have a relax now. Well, that didn't happen this year. This year, because of COVID, there was so much to learn about, and we had to give a lot of information to businesses, and then we started doing these weekly webinars, and we're on endless Zoom meetings and conference calls, and I had to build a whole new section of the website. Oh, and here's the funnest thing ever. Our website basically has become extremely unstable. I've been telling John for 2 years that we need a new website. And for this week spent like a day trying to get it back up. And so now on top of all of that, we've got to make a new website. It was like,
So will you be using different software or platform for the new website?
yes. Yeah.
The old one was such old technology that it was slowing down the bandwidth or getting hacked, or what was the problem?
So it's complicated, but it was built for us in WordPress, which is easy enough. But the people that built it back in 2013, so it's old, it's 7 years old, and which is ancient in website land, used another utility program called Catalyst to power some of the functions that we wanted. So this Catalyst thing underlines the structure of everything on our website. And a couple of years ago, they stopped supporting it. And when the way that websites were made changed, so when we built our website in 2013 to what we thought was the greatest thing, and then they changed it like 6 months later and said, no, this is the greatest thing, because that's the way it is. It's like buying a computer or anything. But
What are you going to use now?
well, we are going to use hopefully we're using a company called Golden Shovel that specializes in economic development workshops or websites. I'm letting somebody else in. It's Mona Carlson.
In the Northwest?
Unmute. No.
I'm here.
Hi, Mona.
Morning, Mona.
Hi.
So Mona, it's Teresa.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to make you co-host.
Co-host.
Make co-host. Do you want Mona Okay, yes. So I don't know if this is the way that all of your meetings work, but it is chiming and asking to allow admittance to everyone.
Okay.
Is that the way it is set up in general for you guys?
I think so.
Okay, so when it chimes, you'll have to admit them, and everyone is coming in muted. So you'll have to unmute them.
Yeah,
Now,
Teresa, in the past, Kathy brought everybody on board. We didn't see that, but that doesn't mean we can't do that today, though.
yeah, well, I'll hang out for a while. And I'll leave I'll have it open here on my desk, but I'm going to be doing other stuff.
Okay. Maybe if you can, I'm going to suggest that maybe if Mary Jo is there, she be co-host, because when I'm talking, I can't pay attention to who's raising questions and asking that stuff.
Okay, so I will do that. Okay, so somebody's entering the waiting room. Do you want to put them in the waiting room, or we have 2 people in the waiting room, which is fine. They can hang out in the waiting room for until 7:30 when you start.
And I've never done this before, so tell me what to do. And
Okay,
I step off for a few minutes. Did you see my text, Mona?
I did. Are you worried that I wasn't going to be here?
No, I just have to run the asthma medicine downstairs as soon as somebody shows up to pick up.
Oh, well, you can leave it this way. I think I can do it. I'm
going to make Mary Jo the host. I'm going to make her the host. And then you're still a co-host. So
Okay.
now it looks like I can still.
Okay, so where do I go to do these things?
So up in the top of your square, there's a little blue little blue, 3 dots.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you click on that,
Yeah.
that's where it was showing for me to, do you see anything there?
I see just make my audio, start video, hide non-video participants. Whoa.
Okay, Mona's sharing her screen.
Okay.
So,
Video and hide self now.
okay,
Okay, participants. I just saw it. Okay, there it is. I'll let him in. I see it.
okay,
If you go to participants, Mary Jo, up there on top,
or on the bottom, depends on
Or on
your
the-
screen.
on the bottom, and you click on that, the names will show,
Okay.
and it says admit.
Mona, don't we just let them ask questions as they need to?
They
Yeah,
can raise their hand.
since there's only a couple of them, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so
and I'll
if you
watch
just,
I'll
yeah.
watch the chat and see if they post questions.
Okay, and Mona, you're gonna wanna put your screen in present mode.
Yep.
Right now, you're in the working PowerPoint mode.
Yeah. There I go.
There you go. Okay, so view
Okay, I can
options.
admit them when you're ready, Mona. I see it now.
Well,
Okay,
we need someone else to show up to count, right? We need 3 people?
yeah, it's still a tiny bit early, but
Well, I think as long as we have more than one counts as a counseling, so 2 counts as a class, is my understanding.
Yeah, we had 4 on Wednesday.
Yep. We'll get through this. Somehow we'll get through this.
yeah.
And then we'll tell Kathy she can never leave again. So, we'll just make her feel invaluable.
Yeah, I've already called her, Mona.
Well, I can stay on if you need, I mean, I'll have it open, but I'm gonna be doing other work, so.
Well, we should
Yeah,
do
and I
this.
think we'll be good once we start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you guys, does my screen show any of those black boxes or anything that's covering any of the presentation?
No.
No, that's fine. Those just hang out on the right side. So,
Okay.
okay, so yeah, I'd go ahead and admit your participants.
And they are admitted.
All right. And they are muted.
You want me to unmute them?
Yeah,
Well, ask them
until
if
we're
they
ready
can
to
raise
start.
their hand.
We can unmute them for now. There's only 2 of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've done it.
Hey guys, this is Sam Ross. There's only 2 of us, but we are very, very excited to be here.
Morning, Sam. We're trying to figure out the logistics of making this happen. So, Kathy, Teresa's here pitch hitting for Kathy, but we're going to get through this.
Yeah,
ma'am.
and Emmanuel is still muted. So
I'm having trouble unmuting him.
there, now he's unmuted. Oh, now
Okay.
he's muted again.
Oh, shoot.
Now
Okay,
he's unmuted. Okay. And Sam is muted. Yeah.
And Sam, I just, let me see. Or maybe he is muting himself. Oh, no, Sam is now unmuted.
Okay, and you guys see the chat. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry. At least I did like super. My computer just fell down.
Okay, so I think we have Sam, Emmanuel, and Michael. Is that true?
That's right.
Waiting for Jennifer.
Okay, we're just going to hang out for a couple minutes. Today, Kathy is at a meeting, so Teresa's helping us out, but we're trying to muddle through this. So we're going to leave you guys unmuted unless you get out of hand. And in that case, you can mute yourself, of course, but we will leave you muted so that you can ask questions. Unless you get out of control, and then Mary Jo has the master mute, so she'll cut you off. But there's just a small group of us, so we're going to make this as interactive as we can.
And you can utilize the chat screen as well. Everyone know how to do that?
No, that's 3 moving parts, and I'm not going to handle that.
Mary Jo, what about you? Are you familiar with chat?
I'm familiar with chat, so I'll monitor it.
Okay,
Perfect.
but it sounds
And I'll
like you'll
just
just be
let Mona,
mostly interactive today.
yeah, and I'll just let Mona know if anything shows up there, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself in case I swear again. But I'll be hanging out.
Okay, well, we're just, welcome back. We're just gonna hang out for a few minutes, see if anybody else joins. And then we're gonna just dive into it. So as far as I can tell, no one else is hanging out waiting. So far so good. It's Friday, everybody. Hopefully everyone has great plans for the weekend.
Shelter in place.
So
I heard the state governor made it mandatory to wear a mask anytime we go outside starting today. I also heard that confirm. Somebody told me that we're in phase 3 now. Is that right?
I have not heard that.
That has not been announced yet. We've applied for phase 3. We applied a week ago, but some other counties applied at the same time. When we had Congressman Kilmer on yesterday, and we didn't really, or we had somebody from public health too. Yeah, we're not there yet, but hopefully we will be soon.
Been about 3 weeks since we started phase 2.
We started, we went into, I want to say that we went into phase 2 right at the very end of May. So we went in a couple of days earlier than the official, calendar. So it's been about, well, maybe, I can't remember now. There's so much that runs together in my head.
That's okay. We'll all get through this. So we have someone else joining us, I think.
I show 8 on now.
Well, I'm showing something called reception. I don't know who that is. I will.
Want me to unmute him?
Yeah.
Okay.
This reception is Jennifer. I'm
Hi,
sorry.
Jennifer.
I don't know why
okay.
I don't know why it's coming up like that. That's weird.
That's okay. Somewhere along the line, Teresa can mark you off or something. It just showed up kind of weird.
There we go.
There it is. So, okay, well, let's just jump into this. Welcome, everybody. Today is, hopefully we got through all of the administrative stuff of how to read your contract and a few things like that. Teresa, are you still there? No, never mind. We're going to actually, I don't know, because I had sent Kathy a couple pieces of paper to send out, and I'm not quite sure how to do that right now, but we're just going to muddle through it. Never mind. We're good. So,
okay. Well, if people are looking on their laptops, if they don't have 2 monitors, it might be kind of hard for them to go between too.
That's okay. We're going to muddle.
We can send it out after.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a worksheet. So anyway, can everybody see my screen? And we're going to walk through we're just going to walk through now the last part. We've got some really great examples of just some comments on when you get into the narrative, things to say and things to not say. I'm always a big fan of, I'm going to give you a couple words that I want you to engrave in your brain. The last session, I think that the 2 words I would have left you with, oops, wait a minute, I forgot the second one. The first one was risk. Everything that we're writing about risk. And I'll think of the second one as soon as I can. Today, the 2 words I want you to engrave on your brain whenever you're writing something is quantify and qualify. Okay, so we're going to talk about how not to mirror back and how to make it more understandable. But every term that you put on a piece of paper, you should be able to quantify or qualify. And I'd like you to think about that as we go through this. Lowering risk is from day 1. Risk is everything that we focus on when we're presenting anything. How do I lower someone's risk? Oh, I know what the second word was. And because of risk, we want to talk about depth. Those at risk and depth are my 2 words from Wednesday. Everything you write about, you want to lower someone's risk, and how do you do that? You show them depth. How can I show depth? Either more experience on our flow chart, our organization chart, background, who's behind us, how much work have we done? Where can I show depth that is going to help someone lower their risk? So today we're going to talk about quantitative and qualify and quantify everything. Okay. So we're going to go back a little bit to the red team review. And I know we talked that, not everybody's going to have a staff that's going to have an independent review. The PTAC, of course, has stepped up and said, we're there to help you. We will be, we'll do anything we can to do this red team review, compare it for you. But the reason we go back to the red team is this is how you need to write, and this is how you need to look at what you're looking for. We're going to talk briefly about really 3 phases of the types of review that you want to go through, and this will make you a better proposal writer as you go through these reviews. And then last, we're going to go over a couple documents that we've actually seen. We're going to judge them. We're going to look at them. We're going to tear them apart a little bit. And then we'll close with just, again, first impressions. No matter how much you can write, we want to talk first about just first impressions, how you leave someone we start out right, so we don't have what we call those coffee stains. If somebody gets a very bad impression, it's hard to change that. So we'll just jump right in. Here's a list that you'll be able to keep of why, what and we're looking for, and when we're looking for it, and how we're going to look for it. So when you're looking at your proposals, we're going to look for coherence. Is there too much technical jargon? Do we understand it? Is each section clearly written? We're going to look at completeness. Is every requirement of the RFP fully identified? And I'm going to get rid of my screen there so I can actually see my whole screen. Can a layman understand it? We want things written not too technical, but technical enough. So there's a fine art of balancing that. We talked about making a checklist so that when you're doing the review, we can make sure everything that the RFP requires is addressed. It's, again, if you're the writer, it's very easy to think that you've covered something, or you thought you covered something, or you remember covering it. And then when somebody actually looks at it and says, well, wait a minute, you're missing this whole section, or you didn't address this paragraph. So again, you're looking for completeness. Compliance, do all the sections conform to the relevant guidelines and regulations? One of the things that we didn't really touch on is we recommend that if the government says, and if you remember our sample, the technical narrative for the organization was 6.1.1.1. And in all fairness, that's what you should call it. You shouldn't label it something else. If they call it that paragraph number, you want to call it that paragraph number. You don't want them to have to interpret. You don't want them to have to say, well, wonder what paragraph they're referring to. So we use the exact title, and if possible, the exact numbering. So when a reader picks it up, they go, that's in response to this. And if they're looking at 10, 20 proposals, it gets very easy and they get very complacent in the fact that if one proposal decided to renumber it differently, they're just not going to take the time and effort to really try to sort it all out. So again, compliance, do the sections conform? Is it rarely easy to identify? Consistency. Again, one of the things that as readers we can see is if you've got a team that's writing different sections, you see different writing styles, you see different numbering, you see different terms. One of the things that we find all the time is even companies refer to themselves differently. One time they might use an acronym, somebody else might use this. So again, it's very easy in today's environment to do word searches, so the last thing you really want to do is just an administrative scrub. You want to go through and put your company name. Did I call it the same thing throughout? Now, a lot of people ask, well, can we just shorten it to what we go by, AGB, shorten it up. And I guess the question we always have is, you picked your company name for a purpose and you're trying to brand that name into their forehead as they're reading it. So, don't be inconsistent. Don't give them four or five acronyms to try to figure out who they're talking to. Go ahead and call out your company name every single time. So again, think about it. I'm trying to get my name across. I'm trying to get my company's name across. If I refer to it in the text 2 or 3 different ways, and you're going to see that in the sample letter we have, it might be confusing as who you're talking about and why are you doing that. So don't be lazy. Think about those things. Terms, names, company things. One of the things we see a lot of as readers is cut and paste jobs. And as you bid on jobs and you present something, historical projects over and over again, you do cut and paste. And trust me, we can see that. So these are things that we're looking for. Correctness. I'm a terrible grammatical person and spelling. That is just one of my weakest spots. And I love the fact that we have spell check, but spell check will do certain things for us, like if the word is used incorrectly, it tells us it's spelt right, but it won't tell us if it's the right word. So there's a lot of things that you can do to do a last minute check while you're trying to get it out the door. And we broke that down for you into, as soon as I make my screen move forward. There we go. So now we're going to talk about like 3 levels of review. I've taken those 6 and I've busted them up into 3 categories, and I've given you a little cheat sheet to look at. Now, we're going to use a simple, stop sign, red, yellow, green. We're going to talk about red. If you don't do these things, you're probably going to get bounced, okay? So if you have to limit the reviews you're going through, I guess, and as you see when we're doing the review of the one that we've written or the sample that we have, which ones are showstoppers? What's going to get you bounced? And sometimes it's just as simple as, I don't have all the information. I didn't number it correctly. Do I not have the solicitation number on it? Those type of things. So we're going to do the review. I break these into, and these are great cheat sheets for you to keep, is what I call read and no read. Okay, when I say read, I mean for content. And all of us, even as reviewers, we have a very bad habit of you start reading something and pretty soon you're missing what you were looking for. For example, I'm starting to read your narrative. I've lost track of the fact that I really wasn't paying attention to your numbering system. So it's very easy to start reading it, looking for the content, and then miss the real purpose of what you're looking for. So you actually have 2 items, read it and no read it, meaning you're looking, but I'm actually going through and I'm counting all the paragraphs. I'm looking at all the page numbers before I ever start to read. Do I have the correct title? You can do these things by word searches. So I call don't read, just do you're just reviewing, Then when you start reading it, then you're going to start looking for names and margins and titles and things like that. So again, break it into read and no read functions. So if you read it the first time, then go back to last time and just say, let me count my page numbers, make sure they're all lined up. Let me make sure the header is on every single page. So those are things that you can very easily catch up on. On 2, on compliance, there really is no read. Now you're reading it. Now you're looking at it. And again, here's a checklist. Is the required information addressed? Does it state how, not what? And we talked about this a little bit early, when we talked about the flow chart the org chart and the information. Don't mirror back. If they say they want to know on the org chart where the QC manager is, don't just draw a block around it. That's mirroring back. You haven't told them how. You want to say how and what. Again, qualify, quantify. Where's that person? What are they doing? What is the organization? You're going to see some great examples here. We start talking about some of the words and wording that you will or will not use. Is the information relevant? Okay, this is one of those things where you're not really reading it. You're looking at it now saying, why do I have, this lengthy term in here that is not relevant? And I've got some great examples of that. You might not really understand it right now, but trust me, we're going to get to some really great information that you go, well, that's really nice, but it's not relevant. It isn't really looking at my review. And again, I want to focus on the fact that the government, very regimented, very objective. They actually have a checklist. They're not just reading it as if they're looking at your resume and they're trying to get a feel for who you are. They have a checklist. They're going down it. Did they present this? Yes or no? Did they talk about this? Yes or no? Is this project large enough? Yes or no? And they actually have a checklist that goes into their file that they keep track of all this stuff. They have to write about it. They have to talk about it. Yes, this company has a high risk of the possibility to be successful because they've addressed this. So these are terms that the government uses when they do their write-ups to say how they've rated your proposal. It's much more regimented than if we were just reading resumes and you just put the one you like on top and you say, it just feels good. They have a very specific process. So we want to make sure that the information is relevant. You're not just telling them things that are not getting put on that checklist. Here's where I talk about it. Every statement is quantified or qualified. And I can't really explain it too well until you actually see samples of what I'm talking about. So we'll get into that. Does it tell a story? If you remember right, we talked about the narrative for the organization write-up, and we talked about the org chart. Do they tell a story? Does it translate? Does it work all together? Have I used the proper technical jargon, but not enough? Okay? So you're reading it, looking for this. The sections build on each other without contradiction. Again, this is a problem you run into if you have people writing multiple sections. You know, one of them has got a different style than the other one. They might say something that contradicts what you've written. So you want to make sure you're reading it and saying, did they contradict each other? Do they build on each other? How can I use less words and maybe spread out the information, still meeting all the requirements? I'm not saying don't address something just because you ran out of space, but make sure they build on each other without contradiction. Is it understandable without explanation? And what is the ease of reading? One of the things that we're going to talk about is, and you have 3 people on the line have read thousands of proposals. And I can guarantee you, if you simply put it in newspaper style with 2 columns on a page instead of 1 with just mass text, it's easier to read. If it's easier to read and you've included you've broken it up by a couple charts or maybe bulletizing some things, it's a much easier to read and to understand that if you gave us 10 pages of just single space narrative. Reviewers are inherently lazy. You know, we're going to start scanning, especially if we've got 10 proposals in front of us. The reviewers are going to start scanning. They're going to start looking for keywords and phrases. Remember now that you might be number 10 that they're reading, then they're pretty bored by reading a lot of the stuff before. So how do I break that up? How do I make it easy? How do I hold their attention? And again, even just putting it in newspaper style with 2 columns instead of 1 mass page of narrative will make that reading easier, and it will help it'll be more enjoyable for the reader, which of course is going to set a better flavor for you. So just think about some of those things. I love to encourage people to use offset it with bullets. You can get a lot more information in bullets than you do if you wrote it all out. You can sometimes use pictures, charts. When I help clients write their safety technical specs, include your banners, include your little safety things, break it up so they understand that you know how to do safety, not just that you're going to mirror back, you're going to do safety. So you're trying to communicate to them, how can I show you that I know what I'm talking about? Yes, I have to, here's one of the key things is the government already knows that you're going to do it, okay? They've given you a contract, build this building. They know you're going to do it because you're required to do it. So the question is, how can you communicate that depth and lower their risk? You need to tell them how you're going to build that building, okay? How are you going to accomplish that study? Not just, yeah, I'll accomplish that study, or yes, I'll do that design for you, or yeah, I'll build you a bathroom. You need to explain the thought process, things that will help trigger them to know that you know what you're talking about. Not just that you'll do it. Of course you're going to do it. They have a contract that says you're going to do it. When we get into issues like safety, and the government says, give me a 4-page narrative on your safety program. As PTAC members, we read all the time now, yes, I will comply with the EM 385. Of course you will. That's a contract requirement. The fact that you just told me you were doesn't really make a difference. You're going to do it whether you want to or not. But how are you going to do that? Yes, I'll supply 300 pencils. No, tell me how you're going to manufacture them. What kind of system do you have set up? How do you produce them? How much do you produce each day? Explain how. So those are things that we encourage you to do. So use these checklists to go through that. Did I tell them how, not mirror back? Have I made it easy for them to read? Have I given them bullets, maybe samples? Can I show them anything that'll lower their risk and help them understand, I know what I'm talking about. So use these charts to do that. 3, kind of the last one, I don't think necessarily that any grammatical errors, spelling errors, things like that are going to make a high impression, but they can be overlooked and they won't get you bounced. But again, use spell check, use grammar check. We're going to spend a few minutes and go through the 100 words or phrases not to use. And I can guarantee you all of you have used these phrases. All of you are guilty of this. The problem that we're trying to explain to you is that, and we'll get into some of them, we've read these. If we've got 10 proposals in front of them, I can guarantee you that we've read the same phrases 10 times. And then pretty soon you're not setting yourself off from anybody else. You're just, again, mirroring back and you're starting to lose the reader's attention. I call it use of white space and balance of type. You know, use bullets, but when you've got, people often say, do I have to fill all 4 pages if I don't have enough text to do that? Can I do it in 3? Can I do it in 3.5? Well, okay, you can do it in 3.5. There's no reason. You don't need to expand on it because people can read that you've just filled the space, but use pictures, you know, use a chart, fill the space appropriately. Now think of it as marketing material. Because when somebody sees white space, and we talk about this on your capability statements, or if you give a capability statement and there's nothing on the back page, it's blank. The first thing that goes through a person's mind is they ran out of things to say, okay? So we're not saying fill all 4 pages just so that you don't run out of things to say, because we can also read through all of the, I don't want to use the word bullshit here, but okay, all of the fluff. But, you know, so use pictures, offset it. I mean, use the space wisely. No, don't just fill it, use it wisely, but watch your white space. You know, if my margins are too big or too narrow, you know, the reader is kind of like a first impression. They're looking at what you're presenting, how you're presenting it, and they're getting some opinions. So look at your white space, your balance, use bullets, break it up. What is the professional appearance of the document? And again, you're not going to be bounced if you have white space. You only wrote 3.5 pages. Again, you're just setting an impression. And these are things that will help you get an A+ proposal versus just an A proposal. You know, and the government's looking for the contractor that's going to make this successful for them. They may have 4 or 5 people that are all technically acceptable. If they can pick out one that says, this guy's, you know, got a professional proposal, he's serious about what he does, it just might add that little flavor that gets you over the edge, okay? So those are things to think about. Again, reading it, ease of reading is not a thesis. I like to tell everyone commas are free. We often have a discussion that, you know, proper English is there are not 2 spaces after a period. I like to say it's not criminal, and it helps break up the document. You know, it tells people when to breathe when they're reading it. So if it's not against the law to put 2 spaces after a period, do it. You know, use commas, they're free. Make it easy to read. So don't get so wrapped around the axle about proper grammar that you've got 1 page, full text, no space, not enough spaces after your periods. You didn't put in enough paragraph returns, you didn't make it easy to read. These are things that I'm talking about. Maximize use of your space, okay? So use these 3 checklists as just kind of go-tos when you're looking at how to better present it. And again, here we're talking about an A+ proposal versus an A. We're going to talk a little bit about how to get the content in there. We're going to talk about some things that really kind of turn readers off and things they did wrong. But I can't write, I can't even speak to what your technical proposal qualities are. I can just tell you how to present it, how to write it, how to clean it up so that it comes across as an A+ proposal instead of just an A. Okay? Everybody with me so far? Okay. We're going to spend a few minutes talking about words to avoid. Now, why do we do this? Because we have read these over and over, and you are all guilty of this. Trust me. I can only see a couple faces right now, but I will know when you say, oh yeah, we do that all the time, okay? But, and they're categorized. Now, I did not make this up. I stole this from some, published people that talk about these types of things. But first category is crutch words. Crutch words are used when the readers don't understand what to say. Now, I talked about this a little bit earlier. As proposal readers, we can always tell when you have had a proposal writer do your document. And the reason we can tell is because they don't know your firm. Matter of fact, that's not their specialty. So they've taken a little bit of information from you and they've added all the fluff words to make it look like a really professional document. Problem is, it's added no value. We really want to know what your firm does. They don't know. So they're adding things like, we understand your requirements as appropriate, as necessary. You know, we're going to respond within the time frame. if you tell a reader you're going to respond within the time frame, again, as contract officers, we said, yeah, you're contractually required to do that. So if you tell me I'm going to respond within the time frame, first thing you're telling me is you don't know what the time frame is. Okay, there goes that risk factor again. You need to say how. You need to quantify and qualify it. We always respond within 4 hours, don't just say we're on time. Don't say it's within the time frame. Those are crutch words, which mean I don't know what the real requirement is, and I can't even tell you what the real requirement is. I'm just going to tell you that I will respond within the time frame. Well, you haven't communicated anything to the reader. They have no higher confidence that you're going to be able to do it because you haven't even stated that you will do it. There are some things now here getting pretty old. We're a full service organization. You remember when those buzzwords were out there, single storefront, full service organization, cradle to grave. What does that mean? Those are crutch words that mean we can't explain it. We're just going to add fluff. Okay. Oh, and they also are mirroring back. Here's the thing about the EM 385. That's the core manual for safety on construction. It's the Bible. Okay, so when a contractor says, we will comply with that Bible, the reader's saying, I know you will. I told you you had to. So how, do you understand it? Have you even read it? When do you use it? How do you use it? How do you incorporate it? So again, how? Don't use just the crutch words of yeah, I'm going to give you a bunch of words, but if they don't tell me quantify or qualify anything, and you don't tell me how you're going to do it, you've just written nothing, okay? So use that as a basis. These are words or phrases to avoid. There's also next category called weak, timid words, and they cause doubt, okay? So sometimes, and you have seen this, where we believe, we think this is what you want, we feel, we strive for excellence. What does we strive for excellence mean, okay? It means we strive, we can't guarantee we're gonna get there. So these are words to avoid because they're weak. We attempt, we intend. Anytime you say might, may, and can, those are all weak, timid words. That's why the government's very specific. We use shall. You shall do this. There's nothing weak about that. It's not you may do it, we shall do it. So think about these words. Mary Jo and I, when we started out, when I first retired, I keep swearing I'm going to come up with a computer program that will take your document and look for all of these words for you. But we haven't gotten there yet. Obviously, I haven't made my millions. So, okay, the next category is what we call boasting words. And boasting words exaggerate or overstate. Problem with that is it is a delivery trap, okay? If you ever use the words top quality, I don't know who says world class anymore, uniquely qualified, and I don't know what best of breed tools are, but you get the point. Industry standard processes, state of the art technology. If we're in manufacturing and we say we use state of the art welding equipment or something along those lines, the question is, what is state of the art? Okay. And how old is your equipment? Because every day, especially with computers and that kind of IT technology, state of the art is moments, And so if you're saying to somebody, I got state of the art equipment, I got the most recent, we're on top of that, you're setting up a delivery trap for someone to say, well, that's not current. That's not the best. Okay. If you're an expert or we guarantee, those are delivery trap words, boastful words that you do not want to use. So again, when we say, you're going to see some of these examples, but we have a large equipment pool. Well, what does large mean? In your eyes, 3 pieces for your small business is large. In the government's mind, we're used to multi-million-dollar contracts. We might think 20 or 30 pieces of equipment is a large pool. So again, anytime you're using any kind of boastful words, you're over-exaggerating, but you haven't qualified it or quantified it, it's useless, okay? And try to stay away from, don't even try, just stay away from things that say state of the art, most recent, industry standard. Matter of fact, those now are words I just start looking for and pulling out and circling because you haven't said anything, okay? Vague and useless words. Here, I know everybody that's on today has done this. You start out letters as we are pleased to submit this proposal, okay? And I know you all have done it because we have read it. I've read 1,000 proposals, I've read it 1,001 times. We are pleased to submit this proposal. I remember thinking one time after I was working on a very large solicitation where I might have had 30 proposals in front of me, I really got to the point where I was being sarcastic. And it's like, I want to hire the guy that said, I just had to do this because my boss made me, or we're hungry for the work. So of course you're pleased to submit it. It's like saying, I'm pleased to work. Here's my resume. I'm excited to work for your company. Of course you're excited to work for our company. You're looking for a job, These are things that the reader already knows. So you've given them fluff words, vague and useless words. And people say, well, how do we send our proposal in? Well, I'm going to show you how to send your proposal in. And I'm going to show you how the government expects it to be sent in. They don't need all that fluff, so don't do it. We are enthusiastic about the work. One of the other things that we see a lot is people will put your company logo and the NAVFAC logo or the Army Corps, and they'll put them in the header. And it's almost like a marriage, a wedding announcement. It's like, look how good we look together. Your company name, my company name. Doesn't this just look great together? Well, the government's like, oh God, get off of it. We haven't even picked you yet. It's like writing. In high school or in junior high, when the girl's writing the guy's last name because they're already getting married, those are things that just give the bad impression, okay? So we are enthusiastic about this work. We're committed to top quality. We're looking forward to working with you. Just stay away from it. That's all fluff. It's just useless. The government has read it 16 times. I even use this information. This is not just for proposals. It's even in resume writing. How many resumes have you read where like, oh, we're looking forward to working with your company? Yeah, you'll take any job that comes along. You probably applied for 6, so this is all fluff, okay? Redundant words, actual experience, past history. History is past. Advanced planning, of course, is planning. So these are words that it tends to make the sentences very long, fills the space, but it adds no value. A weekly, monthly basis, responsible for managing, with regards to, now some of this I tend to write letters and a lot of writing, and sometimes I like to just kind of get on my soapbox and say, in regards to your stupid comment, here's my response. Well, some of those, again, are redundant words. Mirroring statements. We kind of talked about that already. We will follow the EM 385, we'll follow OSHA standards, we will implement the 3 phases of quality control, we will back check all of our documents. If you're mirroring back statements, you are not providing the quantity or quality, or you're not qualifying or quantifying or telling them how. Okay, so I want you to think about and keep those words in your mind. If I've written something, did I qualify it? Did I quantify it? Do I tell you how many people I have? Do I tell you how long it takes? And have I told you how I do it? If I can't tell you how I do it, how can I communicate it in words that you will understand that I know what I'm talking about? Okay. Unnecessary qualifiers, absolutely certain. It goes without saying. And some of these are old phrases, but you get the point. Now and again, comparatively, thoroughly, needless to say, highest level, seamless operation. I do remember when seamless operations were the buzzwords of the day, storefront, you'll never see, oh, we have a storefront, seamless operation, you'll never see it, you'll never know it. Well, yeah, we do, okay. There's also a term, a bunch of, I guess, fall into the words slang. Now these are old. We're hitting the ground running. But you get the point. Is we're out of the gate. Gonna start right off. Here's the proposal. We're ready to hit the ground. We're standing by, waiting for work. Well, we all know that that's not true. So watch your slang or anything that is a terminology that might imply that there's no sincerity there. Okay. Needlessly long words, these are things to also look for, there was in the day, I think we're moving back towards short, sweet, get it done, get it said. There was a time where, again, a proposal writer will take all of these very simple words, make them longer, put fluff on them, make them look like you really are an educated person by being able to use large words. In all fairness, after you've read 20, 30 proposals, you want short words. You want to get right to the point, and that's going to sell you better. Because again, needlessly long words start to question, why are you using, bigger words than you need to, okay? Hidden verbs, again, another category. Arrived at the conclusion. Well, yeah, we found it, has a requirement for, it requires, has a need for, needs. Again, if you're trying to fill a page, these are things and tricks that people use to fill a page. We want you to fill the page with important facts. How? Explaining, get that information out there, not with these long, hidden, needlessly long words or hidden verbs, okay? Held a meeting means we met, performed an analysis. We used to see that a lot, when you're talking about technical time. We performed an analysis of, well, we analyzed it, let's get down to the short words. Now, the last one is legal words, and you need to know the difference between them. What does assure, insure, and insure mean? What does guarantee mean? That's a legal term that if you guarantee something, they're going to hold you to that. You need to understand the difference between may and shall and should. The government's not looking for, I may choose to do this. I may commit to doing quality. No, we will do it, okay? So I think that those are the words or the categories of words. And again, be creative and add to those lists of things that you might think fall into those categories. Again, we're going to now go through a couple pages or documents that actually came from the proposal we looked at earlier. And we're going to go through and we're going to look for some of these things, okay? Now, if I had this, I was going to send you the pieces of paper so you could actually work on it, but we're going to try to do this online and do it together here. Here is that same paragraph that you saw earlier, okay? And I just want you to kind of read through it again. Take a moment to think about, what is the government looking for here? What am I supposed to give them? So just take a few seconds to do that, and then we're going to tear into what they actually provided. Okay, so obviously we want to know about the organization and the management narrative. And lo and behold, let me see if I got this set up right. Here's what they gave us. Now, again, I've changed the names to protect the innocent. I wish I had been clever enough to send you this document before, so take a look at it. But let's just kind of read this together, and then we'll go through and pick it out. Okay, you're going to start seeing immediately some of the things that we just talked about. Here's an overview of Anderson Hill Construction. Now, if you remember right, Anderson Hill Construction is not the firm bidding on this. This is one of their parent companies. So the question is now, I guess we're going to start out with, is this relevant? Okay, because they asked for an organization management. We're starting out by telling basically an incorrect story, but let's look at it. Anderson Hill Construction is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Well, I'm not even sure that's relevant, but okay. Incorporated under the laws of California on this date and is based in San Diego, California. Again, I'm not sure it's relevant. The original name of Anderson Hill Construction is John Anderson, Inc. Now we're going back to, and my father came over on the Mayflower. Okay, there's a certain point where some of this information is just not relevant. It's not getting to the point of what the government is looking for. For some reason, they chose to even put the federal tax ID numbers in here, okay? And the fact that they're a 501 type 3 nonprofit supported organization, I'm not sure is why that's relevant either. Are we getting to any of the point that the government asked for? Additionally, Anderson Hill and its affiliates are registered for and incorporate in the countries where it operates. Here's one of the first points that I would say, they've given some fluff here, but they haven't told you where, have they? Okay, so this is one of those things where I say qualify and quantify. If you're submitting a proposal in China, this happens to be in China somewhere, why are you not telling me that you're registered in China? Why are you making me guess where you may or may not be registered? Again, it's now they have failed to give any kind of depth. Together, the organizations are known as Hill Works. And again, I've changed the names to protect the innocent. Hill Works helps experienced, motivated, and motivated, and successful entrepreneurs collaborate across disciplines, geographies, and cultures to create far more comprehensive, lasting solutions. Can anybody guess who wrote that? I can guarantee a proposal writer wrote that because it says nothing, okay? Absolutely says nothing. I mean, comprehensive, lasting solutions. I don't even know what that, I don't even know what that means, but we are changing the nonprofit model using mergers, integrated projects, and strategic partnerships across Anderson Health, Anderson Water, and Hill Education so that the organizations can radically increase their reach and effectiveness. We are built on 37 years of experience operating. And of course, the first thing you want to do is go, 37 years, you were formed in 1978. Here you might have a conflict. What year is this? I mean, it's not, this is probably about 4 or 5 years old, but still 1978 and 37, I'm pretty sure we're still a couple years missing here. So what's going on? Again, we have conflicting information. We began in 78 as John Anderson to help the people in China, where we continue to innovate today. With the integration of Green Planet Network, Target Global, and Reach for College, we supported programs in 29 countries and have empowered over 8 million people. Now, what on that page has anything to do with managing these projects in multiple projects in remote locations? Did they describe the organization, resources of the company, and how their resources will be utilized? No. Teaming agreements? No. Firms' roles? No. Discuss contractual arrangements that have been established? No. Did we identify the teams? No. So basically, I'm not sure what happened, but let's go through this. Now I've taken out my pen and I've said, red means it's probably going to bust you right there. They're probably going to go, nope, ain't got it. Yellow means it's probably very questionable. If you didn't get bounced, you're not going to get a high rating. And green is just, well, that's just really bad words. But let's look at it. Overview of Anderson Hill Construction. That's not the name of the firm that's bidding it. So there's a very high probability that your technical proposal reader is just going to go, I don't care about who Anderson Hill Construction is, and just miss the whole thing. They might just ignore the whole thing or discredit it or just bounce it. They might say you didn't meet the requirements of what I was looking for. And they're not going to take the time to go through and say, oh, well, they're telling me a very interesting story. They may just bounce it. They may just say, I don't care about Anderson Hill. That's not who bid on this. Okay. These are things that you might get bounced for. Okay. The fact that the 501c3 nonprofit organization incorporated under the laws of California, again, irrelevant, has nothing to do with what you're telling me about working in China. The original names, we don't want to know about these people. And there's a really good chance that if they're being very objective, the government or the reader, and let's just assume it's the government at this point, is ignoring this whole section, okay? So now you've made a fatal flaw of addressing a company name or something that's going on that has no relevance. And if they're trying to be objective, they're saying none of this applies. They might even just draw a big X through it. So you might get bounced for this. The fact that you give the federal ID numbers, irrelevant. What does the fact that a nonprofit supporting organization have to do with bidding on a government contract? Matter of fact, I probably would question whether or not a nonprofit supporting organization can bid on a government contract, but that's beside the point. We already talked about are registered and incorporated in the country where you operate. You need to qualify and quantify that. Are you or are you not registered currently in the country where I'm going to give you this contract? Okay. You have not told me you are. I'm not sure you meet the requirements. I'm not sure you're capable of performing. And this is going to get you bounced. This is where all of that fluff is for naught, okay? Hillworks, again, has experienced, this is not the company that, oh, well, maybe Hillworks might be. I'm not quite sure. I gotta go back to my org chart and see if this is the one. But this is a very interesting paragraph in the fact that it helps experienced. We just talked about that. What does experienced mean? What does motivated mean? What does successful entrepreneurs collaborate mean? These are all fluff words that have no bearing on what we're talking about. They are fluff words. They're these are over-committing, successful entrepreneurs. That has a different meaning to different people. What does successful mean and what are they going to hold you to? They go on to say, we are changing the nonprofit model. This is probably my first gut feel when I read this is it was a bad cut and paste job. Okay, because the fact that they're talking about changing a nonprofit model using mergers, it sounds like they're applying for a grant, or it sounds like they're applying for something else other than a simple construction job to build children's health clinics, okay? Using mergers, integrated projects, and strategic partnerships. Again, those are all those fluff words that are not to be used. What does strategic partnerships mean? You know, what does integrated projects mean? Okay. Across Anderson Hill, Anderson Water, and Hill Education. Now, they might have been trying to tie these elements in as depth. Remember on our org chart, we were talking about maybe some depth of the company behind them. You know, maybe these are entities within the company that they can reach back on. You know, if we've got Anderson Health as an organization that is in the parent company, now you've added some depth to the fact that you do have a whole organization set up for health programs. Or maybe water. Maybe this is saying, hey, we bring water into third world countries. We've got a system. Okay, but they did not explain how those parts of the company are going to benefit this project. Okay, so they've attempted to say something like, hey, we got these mergers, we've got strategic partnerships, and look at what we've got. But again, they haven't said how or why those are important. They haven't shown it in the depth. Now, this is where you could have gone back to your org chart and said, look, I've got these parent companies or I've got these subsidiaries that support me going forward. I mean, they are such a part of me that when I go to build this hospital, I already have a health organization. I've got a water company that, and I'm assuming that this is somebody that brings in water to third world countries. We've got an educational program. I mean, these are people that focus on maybe third world countries improvements. And that would make a difference, but they didn't sell it here, okay? So that organizations can radically increase their reach and effectiveness. Again, I think this is a bad cut and paste job out of some kind of others, maybe a design, maybe a grant, maybe something else, but this is not for a construction project. I can guarantee you that when the government thinks of construction, they think of their CBs out there with bulldozers and cement machines, and I'm not sure they know how to use the words radically increase their reach and effectiveness. So again, this is a no-brainer. This is all should be crossed out. We are built on 37 years. The fact that you're saying we were built on, again, remember those fluff words where we're adding to it? I mean, 37 years of experience can be stated without saying we build on 37 years experience. I mean, it's almost kind of an oxymoron. Of course you build on 37 years. Every year you grow, you're building on. Anyway, now you get me all excited here, but 37 years of experience operating, here's these words, cutting edge. What does cutting edge mean? Well, that's a fluff word. Evidence-based. If you can't tell me what the evidence is, you can't use evidence-based, okay? In Japan and China, we began in 1978. Again, as a company name, I don't, they're trying to, show depth, but they aren't doing it very. Here's what kills me. We began as a company to help the people of China, where we continue to innovate today. Now, this is for a government contract. This is for a contract where it will take US dollars funded by the US taxpayers to perform this construction project. And they're saying here, our sole mission, this company, is to help the people in China. It just comes across wrong. Does that make sense? I mean, it's like saying, I don't know, it's really about the construction project, not necessarily about the moral obligations of what this is doing, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not saying that's not important. That's not the mission here. And that's not going to sell points on the fact that, here's the whole point. This is a construction project. Can you build? We don't really care if you're helping the people in China. That's what we're doing here by giving you this project. It's going to bring this health clinic to it. But again, they're overreaching the steps of trying to explain. They aren't explaining how they can construct. They're kind of saying why they want to participate. This is where you have that little marriage invitation, wedding invitation. You got the two companies and they're doing great things in China. That's not the point. Tell me you can build my clinic, okay? Where we continue to innovate. The integration of all of these companies, we've talked about that. We support programs in 29 countries that have empowered over 8 million people. Again, the relevant information is probably that you've done programs in 29 countries. There's some depth. But here's the point is it's 3 paragraphs in before we start to talk about the fact that we're working in 29 countries. The fact that they've worked in 29 countries explains their depth and their capability of doing it. Remember where we're back to multiple locations in remote areas. This is the first time in this whole 3 paragraphs that we're talking really about 29 countries tells me you can operate in multiple remote locations, okay? But it's buried, okay? And the fact that they've tagged onto it have empowered over 8 million people. Again, this contract isn't to empower people or build human relationships, it's to build a clinic. Can you do that? And they haven't done that, okay? Anybody got any questions? Are you bearing with me that I'm tearing this apart to shreds, and I probably would have given them an unsat and bounced them?
I'm glad it's not my proposal on the screen.
And Mary Jo, it was funny. I think the first time Mary Jo and I did this class, it was actually a 1.5-day class, and a couple of the people brought in, and the next day they showed up and they're like, we could see them pulling out their own proposals, like, yes, we're going to get into this. And as we started going through this with the words not to use and stuff, we started seeing people slide those proposals back into their backpacks and hide them away. So we're not here to shred it. We're here to give you very constructive feedback that these are mistakes that everybody makes. And we're going to help you not make them in the future.
Mona and the attendees, a couple of points here. So typically agencies put page constraints in the various sections of a proposal. And so this company has done a disservice to themselves. If there was a page constraint, they've wasted a half a page of potentially telling the agency, answering the agency's requested information by providing worthless information. So that's a point against them. And then in the bottom, what we just talked about is 29 countries. But we don't know if those were concurrent or consecutive. And the requirement was to do multiple tasks at the same time. So they didn't elaborate on that. That's it.
And absolutely, the only reason I mentioned the 29 countries is if we were reading and scanning for the pertinent details, that's the only pertinent detail. And like Terry said, it's not even done right. But the fact that this is the first time we see some qualitative and quantitative information and it's buried. I can guarantee you that that the reader stopped reading. We got to this point and said, none of this is relevant. And I'll bet you that little tidbit, that little jewel there probably was overlooked. And that's the whole point, is that you're not doing yourself any great service here by making all of this fluff, okay? So here's the next section. We're gonna do exactly the same thing. Overview of John Anderson, JAI. Again, here's a third company, different name. Don't know why we're here. I'm not even sure if I went back on the org chart which company we're talking about. Is a program of Anderson Hill Construction, which has been working in China for over 37 years. JAI, and this is an example where they now shortened their name. I'm not sure that you want to do that. They're used to that, and that's probably, and the government will eventually get used to that. But again, you're selling your company name. Let's use your name over and over. Brand it. Get it in there. JAI is one of the largest, oldest, and most reputable international development organizations in China. JAI has been licensed for its operations in China by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, approved to do the program and projects in over 15 provinces in China. JHI has a representative office in Beijing and 5 project offices with 70 staff. JHI is designated to and delivered world-class programs in clean water, education, and healthcare as part of our mission to help China develop its social infrastructure. Over the time, we have built a strong team with excellent competence in all areas of project management and a reputation for quality, integrity, and value. Let's look at this. Again, I don't think that this is the name that submitted the proposal. So again, we're redlining this. You've missed use of the name, okay? JAI, we talked about that. You don't want to call those, you don't want to change the name of your company. You don't want them to be confused. Trust me, the government readers are tired. They're a little bit bored and they're a little bit frustrated. You might be number 10. Why would you present this to them and make them even more sleepy? JAI is one of the largest, oldest, and most reputable international development organizations. Largest, what does that mean? And remember, we're talking qualitative, quantitative. Oldest, You know, you're making assumptions that we have not been verified by facts. I mean, yes, you've been working in China for 37 years, but what makes you the oldest and most reputable? Nothing irritates, I'm going to speak from personal experience, and Terry or Mary Jo can chime in. Nothing would irritate me more than you being presumptuous enough to tell me that you are the most reputable, you are the most qualified, you are the most, you know, if you're making that assessment for me, you're insulting me as the evaluator to make my own assessment. Okay?
Agreed.
Those are terrible positions to be in. And once you've insulted me as a reader, you're going to tell me you've got good quality. You're going to tell me you're the cheapest, you're the most reputable, you're the best known. You're going to insult my integrity and my intelligence, and I'm going to start now scrutinizing it very carefully, more than I probably should have. Okay, and those are things you can't help it. The readers are human, you know. And this is one of those that would have the largest, oldest, and most reputable international development organizations. What does that mean? I mean, who made that determination? So again, those would be things that have now have done an injustice. JAI, I do have to admit that they have more information in here that is relevant. It has been licensed for its operations in China. I'm not sure that by who authorized it or not is necessary. I think that that's extra fluff, but the fact that they're licensed for operations is key. Again, this is the bottom of the first page. It's very much buried. Approved to do the program and projects and now I've got that covered up, but the Providence is in China. Okay, again, if you are licensed for its operations, we assume all the rest of that to be true. Okay, again, you're filling the page with irrelevant data. JSI has representative offices in Beijing. Now that's important. And 5 project offices with 70 staff. That is what I'm talking about. Qualitative, quantitative information. That now spoke volumes as to, now this is the first time somebody can say, oh, okay, they got an established office. They got 70 staff. That's a big office. That's going to lower my risk. Okay. JHIS has designed and delivered world-class programs. Now, I swear to you, I did not add the word world-class programs because it's on our list of what not to say. They used it. World-class programs, as determined by who? Again, in clean water, education, and healthcare. That is important. Now we're looking at the fact that you do have some history, but you haven't told me how we got that history. How many clean water projects have you done? How many education facilities have you built? You know, how long have you been doing healthcare? So again, qualitative, quantitative is really, they have done themselves an injustice by just mirroring back what the government has said that this program is about. As part of our mission to help China develop its social infrastructure. Now, I work for a company, a construction company, and I can tell you that our mission is to build and to be profitable. I'm not sure that I would ever say that my company's mission is to actually, they weren't developed and set up to actually build infrastructure. So this is where you start to say my company motto, you know, my, what is the word I'm looking for? You know, where you have your tagline of what your mission statement is, you know.
Philosophy. Right.
Philosophy, you know, this is starting to sell philosophy versus my construction ability. Again, I'm trying to get a construction project. I'm not trying to say that I'm solving world hunger. And these are things that are doing them a discredit. And it could be that it was either written by somebody that really is more philosophical about their, you know, building those taglines, building great promo ads about how wonderful they are, but this is not doing anything to tell me how you're going to build my clinic in China, okay? Over the time, we have built a strong team. Again, I think that this is where either somebody so high in the marketing has written this, or they've actually hired a technical proposal writer. What does a strong team mean? You know, what does excellent competence mean? In all the areas of project management, you have not qualified or quantified what project management means, you know, and has a reputation. This is where you've insulted me. I ask you for information. I'll determine if you have a good reputation of quality, integrity. Integrity, we didn't ask you about. Can you build this? As a matter of fact, I have, the government has very specific clauses that say your integrity better be in order, you know, you have code of ethics, you have to certify you haven't been debarred. So your integrity as a company has already been established. So again, you're playing, I'm not sure who you're playing to, but you have really lost your reader here, and you're not going to be scored very high as to whether or not you can actually build this clinic. So I think this is a very large stretch, but it just happened to be one we ran across. And we said, this is just a great example. I mean, this is just, and hopefully none of you have written anything this non-representative of your company. I'm trying to figure out because this is, and Mary Jo said she did look it up. They did not win the contract. And they probably, if they've got 37 years, they probably were a slam dunk or probably very close to being the top choice. But this proposal has done them no justice. It didn't answer any of the blocks that the government has on their checklist as to whether or not you've done the projects or how you're going to set up your organization or who works for who or who those organizations are. Remember, who's your design team? Where are you pulling your people from? Of the 70 people you have on staff, what are their classifications? Are they quality control people? Are they design people? Who are they? You've done nothing to help do that. Okay, questions, thoughts? Now, if you remember right, we talked about the instruction to offers is in your contract. It's in all of them. On your RFPs, it tells you, it's a very lengthy, it's a couple pages, all full text, of what is required to be used when you're writing or submitting a proposal. This is what it means. They're very specific, has to be in English. This is what these words mean. This is what you have to do. And one of the things that they have in the middle of this, which a lot of people don't even take the time to read, it says very clearly, the first page of the proposal must show. And here is a list of what the first page of the proposal must show. Now, everybody asks me in the class when we bring up the point that you have a letter, dear contracting officer, we are pleased to submit this proposal. I guarantee you that if I've read 1,000 proposals, I've read that 1,001 times. And they say, well, what do we put? How do I start out a letter that I'm trying to get off on a good? Here's what the government tells you they want. The first page of the proposal must show the solicitation number, the name, address, and telephone number, a statement here, names and titles, names. If I can make anything clear today, this is what the government expects. And when you deviate from this, when you take it upon yourself to have an opening statement or a flowering closing statement, or I've added some fluff, it's just for naught. The government looks right past that and chalks it up as you can't follow simple instructions. We really want you to say, dear contracting officer, item number 1, solicitation number. Item number 2, name, address, and telephone. We're not reading each one as a proper introduction. We're actually looking literally for this information. So that's why I say, call up this clause, this provision, pull it out, follow this exactly. I mean, literally, you want entitled paragraph little I, the solicitation number. Little 2I, Roman numeral 2, right there, the name and address and telephone number. This is exactly what they want to see. Number 3, a statement specifying to the extent of the agreement that you will comply with all terms of the contract. Okay? But this, if you print this out, this will tell you exactly what your first page of the proposal is supposed to be. And I will guarantee you, 95% of the people don't do this. So if we can offer one word of advice today, and this is your cover page, let's start out. Your first impression with the government is, I can follow instructions. I have read what you've given me to read, and here's exactly what you're looking for, okay? You're gonna set a high standard just by doing this information, which is printed in a clause. This clause was developed in 2004. It's 16 years old, and it hasn't changed. And in those 16 years, this is exactly what the government wants to see. And there's a question is, why wouldn't you give them exactly what they want to see, okay? So here's the cover letter of this infamous proposal we've been looking at. We're going to tear it apart. 1, they didn't meet any of the requirements, but let's just get past that for a moment. Dear Technical Review Board, Anderson Hill Construction is pleased to present. Remember, we told you everybody uses it. I swear to God, I did not type this in. Our technical qualifications for the Children's Hospital Assistance Design Build Construction Project, China. Our team's experienced management staff, relevant experience, highly rated past performance demonstrates a proven history of providing well-managed, high-quality, cost-effective contract execution. We feel our team's qualifications are precisely the attributes the Corps is looking for the MATOC contractor, including but not limited to the following. Okay? We can read all this, but let's just jump into tearing it apart. Okay? Dear Technical Review Board, now, and literally, I did not change this. They know that they're giving it to the Technical Review Board, but who did the government tell you to submit your proposal to? The contracting officer. So you know what? Right out of the gate, you pissed the contracting officer off by saying, I'm not even going to talk to you. I'm going past you. I'm going right to the Technical Review Board. This is just bad. If they tell you who to address it to, you address it to that person. You don't try to make an interpretation. Okay? Anderson Hill Construction is pleased to present. We've talked about this. Everybody opens up this way. But now because you've started out this way, you are inclined to provide the following fluff and circumstance. Okay? We just talked about what the government is expecting to see, and this is what they got. Okay? Our technical qualifications for the Children's Hospital Assistance Design Build Construction Project, China. Now, here is, they clearly understand this is a children's hospital. It's a design build, okay? And we read their technical proposal. I mean, this is what I'm saying is the cover sheet says, we understand it's a hospital, not a social welfare program. We need to address how we're going to do the design build portion of this construction project, and they failed, okay? Our team's experienced management staff. What is experienced? What and how many? So again, the two words I'm leaving you with are quantify and qualify. First of all, don't ever use experience. But if you've got a staff of 30, if you're going to go to this level, which we would say chop out the whole thing. Here's just some more examples of how we've added in all the fluff and we got caught up in the propaganda of having to sell it by using all of these marketing conditions. And it's doing them a disservice. Our team's experienced management staff, relevant experience. What is relevant experience? Now, this is a point where they have said, you're about to read, dear contracting officer, which you didn't say to me in the beginning, you're about to see, everything you are about to see, you are going to draw this conclusion. We have presented relevant experience. Again, we're going to be the judges of that. Highly rated past performance. We're going to be the judges of that, okay? So in the first three sentences here, you have now kind of irritated the reader that, you say it's relevant experience, I'm going to be the judge of that. So let me get to it instead of you just telling me about it. Highly rated past performance, demonstrated proven history of providing managing high quality, cost-effective contract execution. Now, I have to ask, high quality, let's just stick with cost effective. Where is cost effective going to be demonstrated in this proposal? In the price proposal. I don't know if you can even explain what cost effective is if you give me a price, but that's again now a relevant or irrelevant point. We feel, remember that word I told you not to use? We feel, we're drawing that conclusion, our team's qualifications are precisely the attributes you're looking for. Government, you are just about to be pleased. We are going to be married and live happily ever after, and the honeymoon is going to be forever. Okay, but not limited to the following. Okay, we told you, we warned you, we're getting ready to tell you how great we are. Successful project experience. Anderson Hill Construction has successfully managed. Again, you haven't proven successfully managed. Okay, here's another one. Now they're starting to say we've managed design and construction of numerous projects rating from modest. What does modest mean? Okay, so again, every word you're looking at when you read this, what does modest mean? Can I qualify or quantify that? Does modest mean $2 million or $100,000? You know, what kind of project range are we talking about here? Renovations and replacement of general hospitals, clinics, schools, homes. Anderson Hill Constructions both develops critical healthcare infrastructure. This is what I love. And trains Chinese engineers and project managers in executing development projects of this type. Again, very noble, very noble. but now you're telling that we're using taxpayers' dollars to train Chinese engineers and project managers. That might be a side benefit of them hiring those people and helping with that. But you're telling me now that this project will do both things. We've been successful in doing this and training Chinese. It's just not relevant here. You've got some philosophical company policies that you're trying to, I guess, express upon the government, who is really wants to know, can you build this project? Can you build this hospital? Okay. Working closely with local government, irrelevant. Anderson Hill Construction develops programs, oversees design consultants during the design process. Here's where we're talking about mirroring back. Yes, you're going to oversee your design consultants because I told you to. You have to, okay? And manages the construction of the project from inception to completion. Again, yes, you were going to do it from the start to the finish. We didn't ask for a, hey, get it started and we'll let someone else finish it. Including procurement, equipment, and furnishings. This is mirroring back. Now this company, now here's the first time some key information is provided. Anderson Hill Construction has managed over 1.7 million worth of infrastructure projects over the past 37 years. Now when I started out, I'm going to say, I said to you, write down qualitative and quantitative. And this is the first time. Well, first of all, this whole letter should be thrown out. And that's what we're trying to talk about, is that people fall into the trap of writing a dear opening statement, dear contracting officer, or whoever I'm addressing this to, this is how great we are. When really what they wanted to know was, who's the person we're going to talk to? Who's the person authorized to negotiate? What's your company name? What's your taxpayer ID number so that we can get on with the business? But this is the first time in all of this that we see that they've been managing over $107 million for their infrastructure project in 37 years. Now, let's see if you guys catch this. Can anybody tell me what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with the entire document that you've got there, or the last couple sentences? What are you referring to?
The last sentence. Anderson Hill Construction is managed, because somebody caught this in one of my classes, and now I'm kind of primed to it. It tells you how sharp some of the people are, even more so than I am. Anderson Hill Construction has managed $107 million worth of infrastructure over 37 years. And I said, this is the first time they've given us something meaningful. Mentioned to us though, do you realize that 107 million in 37 years is $2 million a year?
Right.
So again, you have to be careful of saying, and let's say for example, that this is a $10 million hospital. What have you just done to the client that's looking at this? You've said that I've done 107 million over 37 years, but I average 2 million a year. I'm not sure you can handle a $10 million project, okay? So again, you have to be very selective about the information you're provided. When I read through all of the pomp and circumstances of the letter, I got distracted by the fact, I said, oh my God, here's some exciting information, $107 million worth of project in 37 years. And somebody in the first class said, well, that's not very much. Actually, if you do the math, that's not very much. And it doesn't say when it was done. 37 years, they might have done the whole 107 in the last 5. They could have, could have been spread out. So again, you're doing yourself an injustice by trying to throw information in here that you haven't really followed through on and thought about. Okay.
The other thing that my first thought on that last sentence is infrastructure projects. Now, are we talking about dams and bridges, or dog houses and cafe shacks?
Yeah.
Didn't quantify.
And again, what they've done is an injustice is you've put this in your cover letter as a selling point, but in all fairness, you've presented more disqualification and more questions than if you had just said, here's our proposal, and we're going to talk about the information you government specifically asked for. And let's not even use the government. Client, dear client, here it is, you're about to read what you asked for. And if in the examples for construction, and again, I'm construction oriented, the government probably asked for, let's say, 5 projects that are in excess of $10 million in a foreign country that is hospital or clinic related. They're going to probably give them 5 examples that meet that criteria. Why would you distract from that? You know, why would you try to summarize and put information out here that you actually think is helping you, but where our point is, it's actually distracting the reader from what you're trying to accomplish. And this is the difference between an A+ and an A or anything less than a proposal. This is where people, and we see this on a constant basis. We see this type of thing, and Terry and Mary Jo and I can both tell you, this is not unusual. This isn't something I had to dig long and hard for to find something that was not a good example. This is just like normal. This is what we see a lot of, okay? Again, this is the follow-on. Remember, that was paragraph 1. We're still in the introduction letter. Proven management team. Let's just jump to the review. Proven, we haven't proven it yet. Our organization is comprised of talented, successful management team. Again, what is talented? What is successful? Experienced in similar projects of varying sizes. Again, we could have qualified or quantified that. And complexity. What is complex? Okay. And again, you're about to present that information, but you're telling the government we've met that requirement. And I don't think that this is the best way to do that. When we talked about, if you do present those projects and the government says, give me a project, it's 10 million, it's a hospital clinic, and it's in a foreign country, in the last 5 years, you build that little checklist and you put that over there. Government, you asked me for a project in excess of 10 million, this one's 15. You asked for it to be within 5 years, it's 3 years old. Is it a hospital clinic? Yes, it was, a full whatever. So put that little checklist on the document that they're actually asked you to provide. Don't summarize it in the letter because you're going to get this kind of impression. What is varying sizes and complexity? Our staff has a strong background. Again, this is becoming repetitive. Has a strong background is not clear. Extensive design experience, well-versed. These are things that are on that list. You do not want to, they're just non-descriptive, okay? The fact that, and it's also mirroring back. Our team has extensive design experience and well-versed in managing subcontracts and multiple job site locations. The government wants to know how you're going to manage those multiple jobs at different locations, and they haven't done that, okay? Now, this is a summary letter, but again, this is also causing you you've set out by saying you haven't told me how, okay? Outstanding past performance is in the eye of the beholder. Anderson Hill Construction has developed outstanding and reputable construction projects, again, based on what? Now, here again is where you start to actually get into some guts of the project that are important. Here is the guts. Now, why this is buried in the last sentence on the first page of the introduction letter is what's surprising. Again, the introduction letter shouldn't have included any of this. But here's the first time we see 28 large general hospital departments, 5 university buildings, 2 learning centers, and 41 school dormitories, over 297 primary schools and kindergartens, 166 clean water systems, and 326 compassion homes, as well as many other community infrastructure projects, such as sanitation latrines and centers for disadvantaged children. Here is something that is really relevant. Question is, why didn't they get the job? And I'm going to guess, if I was the reviewer of their proposal, they did not meet the requirements of their proposal, okay? So, questions. I know that if anybody's got any discussions, I know that, again, we're not capable of being able to go into your specifics. Hopefully we've given you some things to think about. Hopefully we've given you a perspective of how the reader sees it and what you're communicating. Things to, and very clearly, I pulled the 100 words and phrases not to use off the internet. And I can tell you, I know Terry's nodding in the future, on his screen there, and Mary Jo, is we've read this hundreds of times. People don't make this up. This isn't something you created either. These are mistakes that people make over and over and over again, okay? And we want you to stand out. And the reason, in order for you to stand out, we want you to be concise. Don't mirror back. Tell them how. quantify and qualify everything you're about to tell them. You know, if you've got a project manager that has 36 years experience with, in this case, hospital construction, you need to put that 36 years hospital construction experience. My site superintendent has that, okay? You need to tell them how. How are you going to lower their risk because you know what you're doing? And nothing in these two documents, except for this last sentence, you know, about the numbers and tells anything about how they're going to do it. And we were getting bored reading it. It was losing our interest, and they might not have even gotten to this. To be honest, this is in the cover letter. This should have been in the narrative of the organization, okay? This was in a cover letter, which I almost guarantee the reader just went right by. He didn't give me the information you needed. I can guarantee that the reader probably, the evaluator probably didn't even read the rest of the page, folded it over and said, let me get to the information I asked you for. And this information right here on the number and projects should have been in the narrative of the organization overview. My organization does this. The current staff in China has done this. You know, this is what you should have been explaining. So it was lost. Okay. So hopefully that will, and we would love, by the way, if you give us this. I actually have these colored pens, and I will go red, green, and yellow and point out and chop it all up. And if you do it yourself, one of the things that we find out is that you could almost, if you can almost write it in bullet format, you could almost put it back into text in very simple language, okay? So our point is that if they had taken this little last section right here on the number and put that in a bullet format, you would have been easy to put it back into a narrative very easily. I mean, I'm all about narrative, bulleted formats. That's very easy to read. They're not going to go past it. They're going to, as they're scanning it, it's going to make more sense to them. But if we had taken out all this other garbage, if we had highlighted all of this and gotten to these points, put them in a bullet and almost put them back in a narrative, it would have been much more meaningful, much clearer, and much more, you would have lowered the government's risk. Again, remember what I'm saying is our goal is to show depth. This 3 lines, or this 1 line right here, shows their depth that was missed over the entire thing. Okay, well, we're cruising right along because normally we have a little more interaction, but I'm just speaking to the computer and a few smiling faces. So the last thing I would leave you with, after you've done all of that, you've done your review, now you've sent it to PTAC, and we'd be more than happy to take any of your old proposals and do this review on you without shredding it. We would be polite, but we could give you some insights as to some of the mistakes that you have been making that may not be getting you to the A+. Okay? But I do want to leave you with first impressions. I usually get myself in trouble with people that are proposal writers. In some of our classes, we have had people that are proposal writers that come. I always ask that up front, who's a proposal writer, because I'm going to offend you. I like to say that you as a company can do it better than a proposal writer because, again, all of those words and that fluff and that pomp and circumstance was added by a proposal writer. They're going to take the key information that you had and they're going to beef it up. And we think that you can sell your company better. That doesn't mean you don't need help. But at the end of the day, I will also tell you that there is a certain amount of marketing, this first impression, that you might need help with or that you should consider. You know, first impressions are just that. They're going to set the boundaries for how they're going to read it. Okay. Always assume that the reader doesn't know you. Okay. This is something we talk about a lot. One of the proposals that we were reading was the incumbent. They were well established. The government knew who they were. They probably had awarded some of those projects to them. The problem is you got to you have to write every technical proposal, every resume, every capability statement as if the reader doesn't know you. Okay. There's very few people other than like Bill Gates who by his own name is, you know, his name says it all. Okay. We're not that fortunate. So always assume the reader doesn't know you. Always give them all the information. Present it as if you're coming from it at the first time and you're making your first impression. Ensure the client knows the company. At the top is interested and communicated to providing the requirements. We often encourage that the owner of the company sign the proposal. You know, I mean, we don't want big opening statements and we don't want large closing statements, but the fact that you have somebody with CEO after their name or, you know, principal is something that does say I'm committed from the very top. You're communicating that. Pictures say 1,000 words. If you do not have some art graphics in your cover, within your document or on your cover, you're doing yourself a world of injustice because just text is very boring. And if you lose the reader, they're going to start missing some of that key data that you really want them to see. So we talk about presentation. We talk about how to break it up, newspaper style, adding a photo, adding something that communicates how much equipment pool you have. I mean, if you're saying I have a large equipment pool and we didn't take the time to explain it, a great shot of the equipment pool, you know, all of the forklifts, all of the dump trucks in the yard, it, you know, again, says 1,000 words. We like to encourage that the package is indestructible. Again, you might send it in that infamous Staples 1-inch binder that every proposer sends it in. But if it's just in a binder, the chances are it could get dropped. You know, so if your pages aren't, if your package is not indestructible, it could get put back together if it got destroyed in a manner that you don't want it to be put back together. Or if it can be just opened up and they pull pages out and reviewing it, they might not put it back together the way it should have been. And that just, you know, you run the risk of someone else picking it up or not being able to. So think about how you can make sure that it's indestructible. And if you can't make it indestructible, make sure that the pages are well numbered. It's very clear what you need to do. But we've seen a lot of packages get destroyed or get dropped and they fall apart, and it's just very hard to put your presentation back together. Stand out from the crowd. We do this by not using qualifiers or differentiators. We don't want to draw attention to our other competition, but we do want to say that we do want to stand out from the crowd. I'm always interested when I see a construction project or would review packages for a construction project. And let's say we had a requirement for leads, you know, silver leads or whatever, meaning you have to be highly environmental. You have to have some recycling, some low energy, you know. I remember doing a project for a BEQ, and, you know, we had to have recycling centers, and they had to have bicycle racks, and what could you do to make it more environmentally friendly? And they actually put together they actually had printed and put together some a binder that was made with biodegradable, you know, recycled materials. You know, it wasn't the standard plastic that was going to go into the landfill. And if you ever want to know where Staples gets their supply of 1-inch binders, they buy them back from the government from the 10,000 that we get for proposals. So again, if you can stand out, think about it. Think about it from a marketing position. Can I have these pre-printed? Can I buy some bio or recycled material instead of, I mean, if I'm selling a environmentally friendly project and I'm not using environmentally friendly products, I'm not really selling myself the best I could. So stand out from the crowd. Cover sheet, paper quality, think about the packaging. We do have a whole series and got some information we can give you on the theory of color, fonts, tables. You know, there is some marketing strategy that can talk about if you're using color or fonts, colored pages, borders and stuff, that it does set a mood and it does help. So there is some marketing material strategy that we do like you to think about. So with that, we just pulled up, and I pulled these right off the internet. If you had these two proposals in front of you, of course, which one is going to stand out? You know, which one's going to draw the attention right off the bat as somebody that really has taken the time or energy? I mean, in this case, on the one on the left, they're building a school. Why wouldn't you want to make it, you know, award-winning and looking at? Now, I do have to admit that the second one I pulled is a motorcycle accident summary report, and there's probably nothing glamorous you can put on here, but again, very boring. You know, you can almost tell what you're about to read is nothing but statistics and boring information. So again, the difference between the two, they're not even on the same project, but again, your eye is drawn to the one on the left because it's interesting. You know, it's limited, it's got color, it's got some logos on it, okay? And you can do this with your company, you can do this with anything. The one on the right, again, we have seen these. We have seen where they just take the simple page, print it off, slide it in that little 1-inch binder with the envelope on it, and it's just very boring. So again, we try to encourage you, you know, get off on the right foot. Now here are two that have, that are blue. They're interesting. They have color. They've got some information on it. And again, why would we pick one over the other? Okay. The fact that the one on the right has a lot of narrative and a lot of small print. Okay. They're probably not going to read that. The one on the left is, let's say it's for a construction project. Here you have construction pictures. I mean, the fact that this Duncan company, Rich Duncan, I don't know if I would have the name Rich in the name of my construction company, but that's beside the point. Rich Duncan Construction, Inc. They've built McDonald's. I mean, that one picture right there on the cover tells you volumes of the type of work that they do or what they're capable of. And they did that all in one single picture. Okay. It also looks like they've got another restaurant and some strip malls. Okay. Right there is a big marketing thing that says you're about to read some interesting stuff. The one on the right just says, I've used some color, but I haven't really captured you yet. I don't really know what this is about. Well, the fact that it's a shared water, Israelites and Panama, this is already, I'm telling you, it's probably environmentally boring, but that's beside the point. So in closing, and I know we're really pushing the early envelope here, after you've done it, you've streamlined your proposal, you've gotten it into a clean format, you've stripped out all the extra words, you've given them the bullets, you've put it in narrative, you've quantified and qualified everything. I guess our final shot here is don't put something ugly on the cover that's going to lose them. Make a great first impression. And this is where your marketing people can really come in to help, okay? But don't let them write your proposal since they don't know your company. Don't let them add in all those words that if you send it to us, we're going to have you take out, okay? So thoughts, comment? I mean, I'm actually done. I hate to say this. I mean, I thought it would go till 10, but we're cruising right along here. So I'm going to open it up. Has anybody got any comments, questions, suggestions, thoughts?
This is Sam Ross with BCE, a safety and IT company. Just had just a comment is, I started doing the proposals just about 60 days ago during this whole COVID thing. So I haven't actually had to submit a physical proposal. Everything's been on email. So my question is, I'm like, oh shoot, they have a cover page like with pictures and stuff. We were not submitting a cover page like this screen here. So now I'm kind of like, okay, should I have done a cover page if it's not a physical, like this page right here, versus the other cover page you mentioned with the instruction to offerers and stuff.
And I would suggest that, it could go either way. This is definitely a hard copy proposal. If it is a PDF file, that it's all in one package and they can read it like a book, I probably would put a little graphic on the front, Again, if there's no limit, if they're not specifically excluding it, and you have an opportunity to give them a electronic version of your book, I would suggest it. I mean, I'm not saying that in today's environment, because they also are limited, they're reading off of the, those file copies also. I don't think it's going to offend anybody if you don't put graphics on there. I just don't think it will hurt, if that makes sense. Because you have the same situation, there's somebody sitting at their computer, opening up file after file, looking at the same thing. I think they would actually appreciate some of the comments that we've given, streamline, break it up, narrative, newspaper style, columns, some pictures in the text, bullets, because they're sitting at their computer reading, they're reading your documents. And again, it gets very long, very boring. I can tell you from experience, readers, if they're looking at pure text on a page, are going to start scanning. They're getting tired of reading. They're going to start scanning. They're not even reading the whole sentences, and they're looking for those key pieces of information that can get overlooked. I mean, I have sat in debriefs. We sat in with one company. They said, well, this data was missing, and they opened up the book and said, it's on page 7 right here, and it just got missed. So hopefully we're giving you some insight as to how to make it more readable. But you could go either way, Sam. I mean, if you have the opportunity, I think putting together, a cover page in a PDF is a good idea. I think that's where we're eventually moving to as we go paperless. But I don't think it's going to be detrimental if it's not. Okay.
Yeah, the other, if I had another question. You know, you mentioned the org chart the other day, and
Uh-huh.
that kind of threw me in for a loop. I said, oops, mine is the old org chart, and I need to update my org chart. So I signed it to my team. Do you recommend, you know, because like what we have is like the internal org chart, which you said was the one that was wrong. And that's kind of like a company org chart. It's not really tailored to the project. You recommend tailoring that org chart, like you said, just to touch base on that. You need to customize it for each proposal and read it and make it, you know, pop like that.
Yeah. And you want to prepare it for the client. You know, and as much as I have probably criticized some of the old terms, some of them still do apply though. You know, a seamless storefront. You know, when you take something into a grocery store, you see one person stay at the counter, you may or may not know what actually is going on behind the door, but what I want you to tell me is that there's a qualified seamstress back there. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
So they don't want to see your actual company organization. They don't want to see your bookkeepers and you know, all your staff and stuff like that. But you want to prepare an org chart as if it was project specific, and this is what the client can expect. Okay. And if it can show the depth of, okay, I've got a quality control manager and they report to this corporate person, yeah, I would add that. I mean, so it's kind of a mixture of both, but I wouldn't show just an org chart of how you do your business. I would write it to the client on how they expect the project to be managed. Okay. Does that help?
Yes, I'm gonna pause for now and let everybody else ask questions, and I'll have a couple of other questions. If you
Okay.
So
Come
this
on
is,
up. Go ahead.
thanks, Terry. This is Michael. And so what I am doing, these environmental site assessments, is just specialized enough for one person to do. And that's what I am, a one-person company. But I do outsource some things to other companies, for instance, data gathering.
Uh-huh.
When I show the org chart, do I have to name names, or am I just showing the flow of how their report is finally going to be produced?
If the information helps with the presentation or the qualifications, meaning if it's a reputable firm, you know, it's not Staples Printing, and I'm not picking on Staples. How about Kinko Printing? I hate to keep picking on Staples. You know, if you think that it's a reputable firm that you have a good relationship with, and you think that is going to add value, then provide a name. If not, you can just kind of downplay it by saying we do data out, you know, we do printing, or we do some actual data assessment. But if you do have a reputable firm, and you do list somebody, even if they don't know if their name or they haven't looked them up, you have represented that you have a committed relationship. You know, it's not just I got to go find somebody. So you have to look at your org chart and say, am I representing, I don't have a clue as to where I'm going to get these people? Or do you want to say, I've got these established firms, maybe a couple of them, you know, maybe you layer them and you say one of these reputable firms, I have established relationships based on availability, you know, but I am on their list. They do cater to me. You know, I am going to be able to support you. Other than if you just show a box out there with printing or data collection, they're not sure you know how you're going to get that done, if that makes sense. You have to make the decision of, is it showing depth and helping me, or have I created more questions? And if you remember right on the org chart that I presented where I just had a design box, I didn't talk about who or what disciplines were there or how it didn't show any depth of that relationship. It just kind of said, yeah, tack that on there, but you haven't told them how, you know, how. I have this long-standing relationship with these people. We have this partnering agreement. You know, I use them on a regular basis. We have had this relationship for 26 years. So my data can be counted on because they've collected it. So figure out how much depth you need to communicate. But again, it's about how.
Okay.
And sometimes just a box doesn't explain how. Okay. So just think about that.
Okay.
And I'm not saying you have to in every single case, I'm just saying the minute you don't put a name or some kind of qualitative information, like how much they've done for you or how quickly they turn. I mean, if it doesn't add value, it might be distracting from value. Does that make sense? So, pitch it to us, have us take a look at it. We'd be more than happy to tell you what our first impression is. But again, you're trying to convince them that I have these established relationships. I got a smooth running organization. And what I can't do, I outsource this reach back. This is where I get this great support. So you can count on me. It's not my first time. I don't have to look somebody up on the internet and just call them up. Okay.
Okay, good.
Who else? Ask away, guys, because this is your time.
This is Sam Ross again, since nobody, like I said, we just did like 8 of them or 9 of them. The first question I had to tie into what Michael said. So it is okay to highlight subcontractors, like he said, because that's kind of one of the hesitations that, we're a small business. So we're like, okay, there's only just a few of us with certain strong subcontractor relationships. Should we highlight the company itself, BCE, or do we also add our very strong subcontractors, like you said? Because I feel like when we do these solicitations, I feel like I'm getting that whatever syndrome again, where, man, I'm back from a top of my game in my industry, like maybe Michael is, and then now we're starting at the bottom and we're competing against other companies that may be better, bigger teams than us. How do we highlight our small business, and how do we tailor it so that we can say, hey, we're a small business and we're proud of it, instead of trying to act like the big company, which I found myself doing, but I'm really not that in the beginning,
Yeah. And I think in that case, it is a fine art, and I'm not going to say there's one set answer. First of all, the government's going to know you're a small business. Okay, so there's certain things that they're going to understand and they're going to see. They still are looking for that risk level. How are you going to get the job done? But I know you need to balance it by saying, I sub everything out. I mean, if you sub everything out, you're going to probably raise the question of, well, why do I really need you other than the small business? So you have to find that fine balance of being able to say, I am capable of providing these services. And maybe it's a matter of saying, when if there's too much work, whatever, I have these established relationships with companies that can back me up. I mean, maybe it's a matter of presenting of how they're going to back us up, but the government is looking for how, so I think we probably need to work some one-on-one to say, because we have the same problem with experience on capability statements. If you don't have experience, but I'm a small business and they're catering to small businesses and they understand small businesses don't have experience, how do I get there? So the same thing on the org chart. You can't just have a box in the middle that says I sub everything out with all these little spider legs going out. But at the same time, you got to be able to say, when I can't and I need the support, this is who I reach out to, and I have these established relationships, so you can count on me. You know what I mean? So it is a fine balancing act. And I'm not sure one answer is set for either one. So we'd be more than happy to work with you one-on-one. But you got to find that way of saying, I'm capable of doing this, and here's my depth, and here's my knowledge, and here's how I'm going to do it. Because that is the only thing that is going to lower the government's risk that you're capable of. And that's what they're looking for. And I swear to you that their write-up has to say, how much risk are you? Do you have a risk of failure or risk of success? And that's what the government is balancing. So if you don't tell them how, there's a higher risk. If you tell them too much, you might have a higher risk. So I admit it is a balancing act that we're going to have to probably help you with.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely the one-on-one is coming. I'm just hesitant to give you my old proposals now that I see all the colors that you have there. I just have one final question, Mona, and once again, I appreciate it. It's tied to everything here. The technical writing portion. So I have the team, that knows how to do the work and everything. And one of the biggest challenges is the writing part. And I know you had mentioned that earlier. I know you gave us just a general overview of what the writing results should be. Do you have like some sort of guide where I'm trying to guide them to what to write, but I'm not specifically that target jargon writer, the actual subject matter expert? Is there a way to sort of generally guide them like, hey, this is your section to write, we hand it off to you, but you have to do it in this way or something like that. That's the biggest challenge I have right now, is that break in the writing portion for the technical people to the actual us, which is we're reviewing the proposal for submission on the other side.
Yeah. And Mary Jo and Terry can chime in here if they've got any suggestions, but one of the things that I think is helpful and I would recommend is, that you need to also help your technical people gain the confidence of what they are to be preparing for, and I think the best way you can do that is say, let's put it all in bullet format to start with. Give me the highlights, give me what it takes to walk through these steps or what you've done or that type of thing. And then either collectively or working with them or turning it over to somebody that can, and you might find that the bullets serve as a lot of your presentation and your write-up. I think that once you figure out that all the rest of it is fluff and you don't need it, you might be able to help encourage them, say, you write it all down bullet format and we'll either help you then massage it back into narrative text, or I've got somebody that can actually take that and just put it into narrative text without adding all the fluff. My fear is the fluff. And I know that too many technical people have that fear too, is they don't know how to write. They don't know how to, per se, add all that fluff. And I think the point today is nobody needs that. Nobody needs to write that way and nobody needs to read that. So I think you've got a lot more. My first takeaway is I think your technical people are much more capable than we probably give them credit for, in the terms that they know how to write a proposal, because you start out with what you do, and we work backwards just a little bit from that, but not too far. But I don't have anything specifically. We could probably do some one-on-one, or maybe we can come up with some in the future, but I haven't really taken the time to, because every service is so different. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to, I love the fact that on construction, and maybe one of the things that I was drawn to, in addition to the fact that I like to see things built, is, they do use forms. They say, give me this information. And if I had thought about it, I would have pulled it up. But even on the worksheets that they give you, they say, here's a blank, fill in the worksheets that describe this job. And you still will see where everybody writes in narrative. And when we're done with the class, we take it all back and pretty soon it's in bullets. If you've got a hospital, tell me it's 5,000 square feet. It had 37 clinics. It had HVAC. When you try to put that into narrative, you lose all of the reference. Even with A&Es, and I tell this to design builders all the time, they'll say, well, the A&E did the design for this. Well, if you actually broke that down to how many pages, how many drawings, how many disciplines, how many in-house disciplines had to overlay to other disciplines, those are things that you can put into bullet format. And I actually have taken all of those examples of narrative in that form and put it into bullet, and it was much more meaningful. So I think I'm long-winded about how to help your technical people, but I think that once you start putting in bullet format and get the key elements in there, you need to put it back into narrative.
That actually helps. So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Okay. Terry, did you have anything you might want to add or thoughts or?
No, I think that's all good. I do have a comment on the previous subject on org charts. So Sam, you made a comment, and you're correct, that you need to review the solicitation. If the solicitation wants you to submit an org chart, then they'll typically will tell you at a minimum what it needs to have in it, and create your org chart in coordination with the statement of work, as Mona talked about yesterday. So in your case, where you've got some subcontractors, the scope of work may not have a need for your subcontractors to participate. So your org chart for this solicitation could be different than your org chart for the next solicitation. So it's not going to be one org chart you're going to put in every proposal. You need to tailor it to the project that's being requested, and And if the agency is saying at a minimum, your org chart needs to identify this, concentrate on that, the statement of work, what the agency has asked for, and tailor your org chart for each solicitation.
That actually helps also. You guys are all hired. Thank you.
Okay, and this is Mary Jo, and I just want to chime in and say that I work with a lot of clients after Mona teaches this class, and I've had a number of them say that once they get it down with the first couple proposals, that this method of eliminating all of the garbage and just focusing on what really matters becomes very natural and easier to do than what they were struggling to do by adding in all the fluff and everything. It was more work to add fluff than just get to the guts of it, basically. So there is hope out there. Yell if you want us to review something, struggle through it the first couple times, and then I think you're gonna find it's actually more meaningful, easier, and you're going to be able to reuse bits and pieces of the information in other proposals a lot more effectively.
Another thing we talked about earlier today, and maybe a little bit yesterday, is when the agency is reviewing proposals, and I know that Mona and Mary Jo and myself, we have lots of years of experience, and it's probably not the case anymore with the way the software corrects language. But in the past, it turned us off right from the beginning. It was very apparent that the company wrote it and didn't even do spell check. Misspelled words throughout of it. So what's the impression there? You didn't, no attention to detail, lack of professionalism. Your first foot forward to the agency was, you can't even spell words. Now, like I said, though, with the software the way it is now, it's probably less and less of an issue, but spell your words right.
But in all fairness, now the opposite is true, because of the technology, because of capabilities. You know, if you're not staying state of the art, you know, if you're not adding, if you're not bookmarking your PDF, you know, in the right format, if you haven't found a way to get your artwork in, you know, so I guess you kind of got to stay with state of the art. You know, you kind of got to keep moving forward, because other people will. You know, that's one of the drawbacks. Even, again, I mentioned something as simple as bookmarking your proposal if it's in a PDF, you know, where it gives you the drop downs, so they can instantly go over there and click on what they're looking for instead of scanning it. So, you know, stay abreast of what's going on, and because somebody else is. And again, if you're in a pool of 5 or 6 people, 10 people, those are things that are going to start becoming evident, if that makes sense. So.
After the award, always ask for a debrief. I can't stress that enough. Even if you're the successful offerer, ask for a debrief, because you will learn how the agency evaluated your proposal. And for example, on a technical proposal, there may be a number of evaluation factors. You may have done well on 3 out of 4, but there was one that you didn't do so well on, and a debrief will call that out for you, and that will help you write your next proposal to compete and get an award.
Okay, well, unless anybody has any other questions, we really appreciate you guys hanging in here with us. We are available for one-on-one. We'd be more than happy to carry this through and help you take it to the next level, and provide you any assistance we can provide you. Okay, so give us a call and give it a shot. You know, give it your best shot, and then it's a very safe place. As I say, we will not redline it to this degree. It's a safe place, and we're more than happy to help you. That's the reason we do this, is to give you back all this information that nobody else will tell you. Okay?
Okay, thank you. You know, the 101s are coming from me.
Well, we're more than happy to help you. So thank you all for coming.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.